Okay, so I'm here to continue finishing this little example here. So again, this is kind of a physics example. This is something you might see later on. So we have these two equations. So again, the thing is, even though they're all symbolic, they are generally symbolic. In these equations, there are generally things you would consider known and unknown. So in this kind of problem, you would assume maybe that you know the masses. You might know also the initial velocities. In fact, we know this one is 0 because that one isn't moving. But the things that you don't know would be the final velocities. So you can imagine setting something up like this, setting up some situation where you know how it's set up, but then you want to predict what those final velocities would be. So that would be how this kind of problem would do. So essentially what you have here is you have two equations, and if I circle these variables, we have two unknown variables. So basically it's the same thing that we've been doing, two equations, two unknowns, and essentially you have this variables. This is a little bit more complicated because there's a lot more variables, symbols going around. There are no numbers or anything. So I am not going to put you through the process of me going through this, but I went through it a little bit earlier, and this is basically what I did here. So I solved this first equation for VA2, and then I took that and I plugged it into the other equation. It turns out because this is squared, it's a little bit messy, but in this stage here, a lot of things cancel out. And then I solved for VB2 in terms of these quantities here. And then what I did is I took this and I plugged it back into the earlier equation, this one, and I solved for VA2, and I got the two equations for this final velocities. So that could be something that you might see sometime in the future. All right, so I'm just going to do one more example, and we'll wrap this thing up. So let's say that we have these two. So 2x minus 7y equals 2a. And we have 3x plus y equals minus 20a. All right. So if you feel confident about these, this is solve x and y in terms of a. Why don't you try to do that now? If you want some hints here, I think the easy way to do this would be to solve for y in this equation. And once you have the equation for y in terms of x, plug that into this equation, and then solve for x. And once you have x, plug it back into this equation and solve for y. All right, all of this would be in terms of a. So again, why don't you try that? I'll give you a solid 3 count to pause the video and try it yourself. All right, so let us see how you did. So I see this y here. It has no coefficient. That's going to be probably our best bet here, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use equation 2. 3x plus y equals minus 20a. I'm going to solve for y by subtracting 3x from both sides. So I get y equals minus 3x minus 20a. And let's call this equation 2 prime. I'm going to take that equation, I'm going to plug in to equation 1. And equation 1 is 2x minus 7y equals 2a. And what I'm going to do here is this right here, y. I'm going to plug in the expression I had for y in equation 2 prime. 3x minus 20a. All right, so I get 2x minus 7 times minus 3x minus 20a equals 2a. So I distribute this like that. So I get 2x and then plus 21x. Negative 7 times negative 3x is positive 21x. And then I get positive 7 times 2 is 14, so 7 times 20 is 140 equals 2a. Combine like terms, this 2x and 21x is 23x plus 140a equals 2a. Subtract 140a from both sides. And I get 23x is equal to negative 138a. Divide both sides by 23. So I did this earlier, and when I did this, it wasn't exactly clear what 138 over 23 was, but turns out it's 6. So this x is equal to negative 6. All right, so maybe you saw, 6a. So maybe you saw that. It took me a little bit of thinking to figure that out. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to plug in to 2 prime. So we get y is equal to negative 3x minus 20a. And so we're going to plug in our value for x, minus 3. So in for x, we're going to put negative 6a. All right, so you get y equals 18a minus 20a, y equals negative 2a. All right, so then we get negative 6a, negative 2a. All right, now let's just do this check real quick. And that'll kind of wrap this up. So we have 2 times negative 6a, that gives us negative 12a. Minus 7 times negative 2a, that gives us 14a. Negative 12a plus 14a is 2a. That looks good. All right, so we have 3 times negative 6a. That's negative 18a minus 2a. Negative 18a minus 2a is negative 20a, so that looks good. All right, so at this point, you should be able to do all of the homework. So the homework assignment is homework 14. You should be able to find it on Moodle. And that homework assignment, I believe, is due Tuesday of our second online week. I'm sorry, I don't currently have that date off the top of my head, but you should be able to do homework 14. So why don't you do it? All right. Hope everyone's safe. I'll see you later.